Today we're talking about 5 things that Ben Shapiro does that can easily make people hate him. And it's not his political views either. It may be a surprise to you, but the things that he does before he even says a word can make him susceptible to be easily hated. Now, this isn't a video about his political views or his specific comments. And I'm also not saying whether he's right or wrong. You can notice him doing these things even with the videos on mute. Now, the reason this is important is because if you are aware of the things that other people do that make you angry, it makes you less of a victim. It puts more power and control into your hands because you are aware of these things triggering you. So you can avoid them or mute them out. In addition, if you're doing any of these things, people could easily hate you, and you might not know why, and you might not realize it. But knowing this takes you one step further in helping your relationships in your life. Now, this came about when I was talking with one of my friends, and the topic of Ben Shapiro came up. He says that he hates the guy, and after some probing, I realized he didn't even know anything about where Ben stood politically. So he hates Ben Shapiro, even though he doesn't know a single thing about him. It's because of the things that he does, even before he says a word, that makes people easily hate him. So here are 5 things that Ben Shapiro does that makes people easily hate him. The first thing he does is he glares. Ben has a natural tendency to lean his head forward when he speaks. In addition, his eyebrows have a natural incline towards the center. So even before he speaks, he's glaring at the person he's facing because his face is tilted down and his eyes look up. Here's an example from the Piers Morgan show.
I've been a bully on this issue because what you do, and I've seen it repeatedly on your show, I watch your show.
Here's another video where he's talking with somebody who agrees with his point of view.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shapiro.
Hey, thank you so much. And I should say, I've been following Arutz Sheva since the very, very early days of Arutz Sheva.
You can even see this in his talk show.
Hey, we are going to go through some of the wokest corporations in America, and we are going to decide just how...
As the viewer, he's looking up at you from glaring eyes, and you could feel the tension. So if you have naturally descending eyebrows, and you tend to lean your head down and look up when you speak, it can make you susceptible to being hated. The way to prevent this is to tilt your head just a few degrees back when you talk to someone. Another thing that Ben does is that he has a disingenuous smile sometimes. An authentic smile spreads across your whole face. It includes your cheekbones lifting and your eyes squinting. Ben sometimes smiles when he reacts to people's comments. Unfortunately, his smile doesn't include the whole face. It makes him come across as disingenuous. You can see him flash a grin sometimes in interviews, but it doesn't come across as authentic. He doesn't shift his eyes or cheekbones at all. And when people see an inauthentic smile, they believe that the person behind it is not genuine either. So in order to prevent this, if you're going to smile, you want to include a slight squint in your eyes and a lifting of your cheekbones. The third thing that Ben does that makes people easily hate him is that he'll sometimes flash a sneer of contempt.
Presidents in American history.
Yeah.
According to Dr. Ekman, author of Emotions Reviewed, contempt is when the lip corner is tightened and slightly raised. When Ben talks about topics he doesn't like, he naturally flashes a sneer of contempt. Sometimes the reaction to something negative is a natural sneer. It's very difficult to control because it's subconscious. So in order to control something that's subconscious, we have to think upstream a little more and control the way we think. We'll sneer at negative things, and in order to avoid contempt, we need to control the way we think about the topic. It's very difficult to find contempt in something where we're trying to find positives about it. We could practice an exercise similar to gratitude, where we try to focus on the positives instead of the negatives. It's much harder to be contemptuous at something when we're actively trying to think of positive things about it. The added benefit to this is that positive thinking reinforces our gratitude and makes us happier. The fourth thing that Ben does that makes people dislike him is that he uses closed body language. In some of his old videos, we could see him using closed body language. Closed body language is when we prop something against ourselves to avoid being physically and emotionally vulnerable. Ben clasps his hands here when he's first talking to Pierce Morgan. This signals to Pierce that he isn't open to his ideas because he's not physically open. You could see this is dramatically different years later when he and Pierce are actually better communicators and better friends. He's less closed off. Vanessa Van Edwards says in her book Cues that a closed body signals a closed mind. If you want people to be open to you and open to your ideas, you have to be physically open to them. This signals to them that you're open to their ideas as well. In a social environment, holding a beverage in front of you signals that you are blocked off and closed off to anybody approaching you or to anybody speaking to you. When talking to other people, you want to avoid crossing your arms because crossing your arms signals to them you're not open to any ideas and you don't want to hear what they have to say. The fifth thing that Ben does that makes him easily disliked is pretty obvious, is that he talks over others.
And that kids should be kept away from it.
That's not true.
It's not.
Talking over others before they finish their thought can make them feel unheard. Ben does this in a lot of his arguments. You see this on the Bill Maher show.
You want to cancel
No,
them?
Malcolm, I'm sorry, you're lying. That's
not
lying.
true.
Letting people finish their thought is not only essential in them being heard, but it gives you two great benefits. One is that when you pause after someone's speaking, and before you speak, it allows you just a second to collect your thoughts. That means you have more time to think and carefully craft what you have to say. The second benefit to giving yourself a second is that you come across more confident. You're not desperate to talk over other people to make sure you're seen and heard. People who are confident let thoughts breathe. They don't need to instantly react to what someone else says or does. They don't need to talk over other people so that they can feel heard. So there you have it, 5 things that Ben Shapiro does that makes him easily disliked and probably can easily trigger your hate. If you're looking to control your anger, there are 4 crucial steps you need to take and a correct order you need to do in order to take back control. For more information on how you do this, check out the free webinar below. And until next time, guys, stay healthy.